I got kidnapped and I escaped from the kidnappers, and I ended up on the island. This is alcohol stories from up until high school started. So I think the first time I ever remember having my own drink given to me, alcoholic beverage, this was in the house I lived in Oregon City, right after my parents got a divorce. My mother was having a party, and everybody was drinking. I seem to remember it going down something like this, basically like somebody was like, hey, give the kid a beer, and then my mom's like, sure, yeah, or something to this effect, and bam, I had my first beer. Now, that might not be true, because I might have been served by my grandfather before that. But, you know, served each other. So the grandpa used to make these things called red and green ones. So he'd use vermouth, sloe gin, and 7-Up. And one would set at the bottom and one would set at the top. The 7-Up would be in the middle, so it'd be a 3 different colored thing. And you know, as a kid, you know, I don't really correlate anything. But looking back at that as an adult, I think that was like Grandpa's way of mellowing out the kids. Like the kids are running and screaming and wah, just doing whatever kids do. And then Grandpa's like, hey, you want a red and green one? Yeah, here, get drunk, and all of a sudden the kids are all napping. And those were a thing at Grandpa's house. I think drinking was more like kind of more like maybe like considered like a European type of thing. Fast forward, so I got served that one time, and then I had those red and green ones at Grandpa's house. But then, really, I don't have much recollection of drinking until what I believe is the summer between junior high and high school. Now, this story could be reason. This story might tie into the story about how come I wasn't allowed to go shopping or go work for school clothes. Which I'm not even 100% sure that was between junior high and high school. That could have been like between freshman and junior, or freshman and sophomore years, maybe. I'm not quite sure. So this houseboat barge I lived on with my mom and stepdad and little brother. This place was like alcoholics' paradise. I mean, the official arm position for the moorage was this. From my point of view as a kid, like drinking was like what, you know, just couldn't wait to be an adult, because that's what they all did. They were just all drinking like fish. And I saw a lot of really crazy shit happen being around drunk adults. So there was this guy that lived down in the houseboat moorage, and I think I might have already touched on once before, talked about him. I'm not using names. So yeah, this dude that I used to hang out with, he was like in his early 30s back then, and just fucking slime ball. His nickname was Dirty, and then he had his name, so it was Dirty blah blah blah. I can say that because it's not his name. Just to give you an idea what kind of character he was, right? And basically, he was like mooching off this guy, but the guy, he was like his best friend, like, so it was just like he was just supporting this guy because who knows? I never saw any homosexual activity, not even any little nothing, not a thing, other than the fact that it was two guys living together. But that's not gay. I mean, it's roommates. So, but everybody is like, oh, they're gay and all this. But I never saw it. But anyway, so he was a freaking slime ball that would probably even have sex with underage girls, I'd have to imagine, because the story I'm talking about now, him and this guy, his buddy, another just sleazeball MF. This dude drove an old Corvette. Well, they were out in this boat and they were out trolling the beaches. And I used to go over and hang out with this guy and play video games and cruise on the boats and, just all kinds of random build RC cars. He friggin' amazingly built this Team Losi RC10 that had a rear-mounted motor. Spent insane amount of time turning the motor around so it was a mid-engine. Just, we'd stay up all night tinkering like that, right? And we'd also stay up all night running this dredge for the moorage because it had to be run on certain tidal times. So one day he's like, oh man, me and such and such, we were out there in the boat and we found these chicks camping on this beach all by themselves and blah, they're hot, blah blah blah. Yeah, this was in between junior high and high school. I remember for a fact because one of the girls I was in junior high school with in the same class. Yeah, slime ball guy. So he's like, come on, let's go, right? So I hop in the boat and he's like, what do you want to drink? And I had watched my dad and his friends that I talked about once before one night doing tequila shooters. So really it's the only thing I knew as far as alcohol. But I thought it was fascinating, you had the whole salt and lemon and shooting it, and this whole thing. So I'm all tequila shooters, it takes a minute for those to kick in. I think I got 7 of them down. 7 of them at like whatever, 13 or 14 or however old I was. I remember we got to the beach and I don't know why, but I'm like, drop me off. They were on an island. And the island had a beach all the way around it. And it actually had a cove that went in because the beach is actually used by a concrete company to scoop out to make concrete with. So there's this giant, the whole inside of the island is gone due to the concrete company scooping it out. There's a beach all the way around, but it has like a forest. So for some reason, I had this concept that I needed to come in from the forest side to like, I think my reasoning was like I needed to do recon or something like this on their campsite. I jump out, he pulls the boat up to the beach on the other side from where the girls are camped. That's all I know is there's girls. I jump out the boat, I land on the beach, and I fall straight back, wha-bam, right back into the water. Apparently the tequila kicked in at that point, because jumping off boats on the beaches was something I did like on a daily basis, and falling into the water was something I wasn't doing, right? So I proceed to go trompsing through the jungle there to get to the other side, which was pointless, really. There was absolutely no reason for that. So I go trompsing through, and of course this scares the girls because there's somebody on an island coming through the bushes. So I think I was like spying on him for a minute, then I came trompsing out, and then like I had this crazy ass story that I got kidnapped and I escaped from the kidnappers, and I ended up on the island. That's how I ended up there. Was I escaped the kidnapping, right? So then the girls weren't there by themselves. Yeah, go figure, a couple 13-year or 14-year-old girls aren't by themselves, right? No. They're with their parents. Their parents are in the damn tent, in a different tent. They have 2 tents. And they're not coming out. And they're like not amused with all the going on outside the tent, right? So then all of a sudden my buddy comes up, right? And I'm like, oh, there's my uncle or something. Come to the rescue. So now we're sitting there at the campfire and we're bullshitting. It's just these 2 underage girls, myself, and this like 30-year-old dude. I'm trashed beyond all that is. I'm just annihilated. 7 shots of tequila, never drank it before. So I'm sitting there at the campfire and I see a fucking boat, and I'm like, that looks like my stepdad's. So in the houseboat moorage, we got our houseboat, and then in the same slip, so there's slips. Well, ours is out in the front, but there's one in the back that's one of my stepdad's buddies. This guy's like the gym coach or something, but he's his buddy, and he built a house right there. And so I recognize his boat coming, but I could just see like silhouettes, and I could see 2 people, and I'm like, oh, that's my mom. So I kind of get up and I walk like maybe 5 or 15 feet over to some clump of trees, and I just lay down behind the trees in the sand. Really, I don't remember if they found me, if I came out, if they saw me go over there. I don't really have any recollection, but all I can remember is my mother screaming at this guy how old I was. I get in the boat, we go back home, I go to bed, I got in trouble, and I don't think I drank again and for quite some time.